you may feel as if there's these things that we do in life that is just repetitive, or like how we continue to go and create this history timeline that is a repetition. On the wind is the metaphorically speaking on the that cycle in life of the when it comes to where Sultan Ibrahim was born, that is the South. So this fits perfectly well, like anything in life, and moving into a new chapter, you have this anxiety. And so the people of that time last year, they were anxious who was going to be elected as their new king. And the king, Sultan Ibrahim, he was born in south of Malaysia, and that is Johor. He was born in 1958, just a year after the monarchy was established, and that is the state that he's in is the state of Johor in Malaysia. And there's nine sovereign royal families, but there's 13 13 states that they're in sovereign of. And in that federal level where Sultan Ibrahim is the head state of, he's actually acting as like the father of the nations. He has that sovereignty. Sovereignty from God. When it comes to his background of his upbringing, he was he took a lot of military um, fields of being in that status of where he's at now, where he was able to obtain high rankings of the Navy, Army, and the Air Force, and those branches. The royal families that came together to elect him, they understood his background, and so they were actually upholding him and knowing that he will actually accomplish the things to make their country better, is because of his status in life and what he was able to do. And that shows who he is as a person and his character. And so when it comes to walking that destiny, you're able to really see the example of what he went through and truly understand what it takes to get there. And so part of that is that discipline. And he's very outspoken. And so when you have that sovereignty, it's actually a mandate from God. Like any president that is elected, and they are protected, and they are guided, and they are walking and taking the actions um, in the guidance of what God is guiding them. In this example of the wind goeth toward the south again is that anxiety angle of the common people not knowing who was going to be elected. And so as it goes down into the uncertainty, you rise up. So as you are going the south and turneth, you turn and rise up to the north. And the north is where Sultan Ibrahim is going to fix all the corruption that is happening within his country. He's able to really see and discern what is happening based on his training in the military, and he's very outspoken, and he's very grounded and divine in the alignment. And so that's why also the royalty family had elected him, is because he has that stamina and that strength. And he is the only sultan worldwide that has his own army, if I'm correct on that. And he's yeah, and he's high ranking within the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. And so he has a lot of experience and background credentials in that area, because he also has his own motorcycle license. And facing the north, he is able to bring his people out of that corruption. And as he's bringing his country out of that chaos and stabilizing it again, he is able to really bring the people into their destiny, that country into their destiny. That's like, that's the true north. When it comes to responsibility, Ibrahim has actually two responsibilities within his own state, as well as in the sovereignty federal level. He has that sovereign responsibility to care for his whole country, as well as the state that he was born in. And it's like that for every sultan in Malaysia, where they are elected as the next king, and they never leave the responsibility as their the state responsibility where they were born in. That worldless is that cycle in life that individuals feel like they're stuck. Sultan Ibrahim, he is bringing the people out of that cycle. He actually rides his motorcycle and in his home state, and goes there himself and fulfills that responsibility. And so what he does is that have that connection from a more cosmic, from a more cosmic angle, is because he's bringing out that love, that family environment. And so he's breaking the cycle of acting as like the puppet king, because that's what he had voiced also, that he, if he was elected, he was not going to be a puppet king, that he was going to do what needed to be done, whether um, people disliked it, is because he's tuning into God in that alignment, and he understands what needs to happen is by truly being on that ground level of seeing what people need to change into, like what Jesus did when he was here on earth, where he actually connected to his children by being born in Bethlehem, which is the poorest town when it comes to the whole map of that area. uh Bethlehem wasn't really on the map, is because it was so low in status in society. The class was so low, so he was truly born in a poor environment, and that's where Jesus, our creator son, our God, had um, bestowed himself into this environment where he was able to learn from the people who were not corrupt in politics and brainwashed or programmed in religion, and or the ways of life in general, the thinking, feeling, and doing of how society functioned at that time. And so that's what Sultan Ibrahim is doing in his reign, in his responsibility as that king in the federal state, of connecting with individuals in his home state and also beyond, of what it really means to get things done, is to really go down to the nitty-gritty of fixing the corruption and bringing and uplifting individuals, the souls. So by connecting, you are able to activate those. Um, you're able to help other individuals activate who they need to be in God, and you're able to really bring forth a spiritual gifts in God as you. So, and as you continue to study him, also you'll start seeing how really grounded he is, and he's able to collect himself, and he has a sense of humor, and yeah, and so he's just breaking that cycle by truly being himself and being that child of God, even though he's a Muslim. And in this angle, we are presenting the Christian aspect of it when it comes to following the true and one living God. And to get to the Father is to have that relationship. And so, even though Abraham is able to have that relationship with God, and it's a different religion, a true religion is actually one that is able to have that true connection and that communion in God. And as you're having that relationship with God, you're actually having this transformation and that vulnerability and the humility, like we have spoken in other presentations of verses, because right now we're on verse 6. So I believe we've spoken about it in verse 4 and 3. But when it comes to that connection, you are bringing out that destiny in the individual, and you're able to activate their awakening in the Father, and they're able to really understand what it means to have that relationship and that connection. You bring out the destiny, and it's that connection with the Father. And overall, it's that relationship with yourself, with others, and God. And so that this is why Sultan Ibrahim was elected, is because credentials that he has and the experience. As one moves into the field of expanding one's knowledge in life and their abilities, they actually hone that ability to follow through, like what he had presented, informed his country and his extended royal families that he was not going to be a puppet king. And anyway, so he has that mandate, and he is hearing from God. The North, he's bringing his country in this stabilization. So in that relationship, you are stabilized, and you're able to really see on how to keep it that way by taking out the corruption that is in the foundation. So as you stabilize the nation, which is what he is doing, the country, he's stabilizing and building that foundation. So it's a whole cycle, and it all is intertwined with one another. And Sultan Ibrahim, he knows his foundation, and he is grounded and really walking that responsibility and this duality of that sovereign mandate that he has. And he's carrying it really well. And so if you study him and really walk and understand it, his character and his actions, they match. He carries his word through his actions. if you want change, this is what needs to be done. He doesn't he's not the type of person that will just tell them what to do and then you do as he says. And then it's like contradicts some of the things like what some politicians do in life. And anyway, um, so as you read this verse about continually, there's that continuous process of that cycle of that rebellion where people are actually not aware what they're doing as they're going through that cycle in life. Some people don't know what they're doing because they're spiritually unaware. Spiritually um, aware. Because they're spiritually unaware is because of that lack of activation that they have in God. The circuits in their mind, their body, and their soul is actually decircuited, it's shortened, it's cut off from the Father because as a person is spiritually unaware, it's more that ingrained mentality of where they're at in life, of doing things more in a physical, materialistic way, and versus the more spiritual, um, holistic, and grounded way in God. And so there's a difference when you start looking at your own life and seeing where you stand. Because I know some individuals that I've met, they say they don't want to dive into any type of spirituality. It still mirrors where a person is at. Um, so whatever is lacking within you, it will show within your environment that it's not connected. If you continue to have that cycle of, say, rebellion, of bad habits, and in the way you think, feel, and do, you are actually disconnecting and slowing down your growth. And you're actually um impacting the individuals around you when you don't slow down what King Solomon is presenting in this verse, when you don't become spiritually aware and that relationship and that connection with life, with others, and God. And so there's that trinity when it comes to just the growth process of that awakening and taking that responsibility, and being responsible in life. There's a trinity aspect of it. And the continuation of it, of the rebellious part of it, if you're spiritually unawakened, you'll just continue that cycle. So he's breaking the cycle when it comes to the rebellion of what's happening of the country, and he's fixing the system. He is breaking that cycle where that it doesn't continue, that rebellion doesn't continue anymore. And so as he brings the people out of that rebellious mindset by honing down and seeing who the weak links are and the rebellious individuals, the souls, he is able to bring the individuals who are connected to him, bring them into their circuitry to God. And so it's all intertwined when it comes to reading the sentence. Basically, it's having the understanding that we're all in this together and no one is separate. And as one grows and you connect with another, both of you grow. And so, in this angle, as Sultan Ibrahim is able to help his people, his whole nation grows with him, and uh, and that's a good thing because it really supports and in alignment with the other sovereign nations, the other royalty families that are that are helping their countries, their states, bring up to the next level of divine alignment in God. And the government is becoming more stabilized with his reign, and he's able to really help others and other nations around the world. He is able to truly bring out the good side of them and uplift them. And yeah, and so in the his circuits, when a person is in that spiritual awakening, his circuits, his part becomes one with God. So it's not just his circuits, but it's your circuits in alignment with God. So there's that divine spark within you, and that divinity, that God, that fragment of God that is ingrained with every one of us is activated, and that's where the circuitry is in that alignment. And so yeah, and this is where Abraham is really good at in helping individuals in really connecting and really being there for them and with them as a person, as just a common person. And he's like taking out his title when it comes to the religion of Islam or Christianity. The true religion is that connection, that relationship, and our communion with God. As long as we're changing within and seeing that whoever you're connecting with is your brother, is your sister, and they're not different. Um the nationality, the religion, their point of origin of where they were born does not separate you. The color of their skin, their political stance in life, the whatever it is. With that true religion and that relationship with God, uh, you are able to truly see that we, as a whole on this planet, we are all one under God. And yes, it's better. It's having that relationship with Jesus. Yes, it's better to have and worship the one and true living God, and how Jesus transforms us is that relationship. And he may not present it in that angle is because he is Muslim and he carries a different angle of God. But again, a true religion is where you actually have that communion, um, and have an understanding that who we're serving is our brother and our sister, that no one here is an enemy. And so that's the end of our study in this verse, chapter 1, verse 6 of Ecclesiastes, and how it really looks like when it comes to the cycles in life, and how does it, what you need to do to get out of that cycle to create a new beginning, a new chapter, a new whatever it is. And even though it looks new, again, it's nothing is new under the sun. Thank you again for joining me here. And if this resonates with you, please pass on this presentation to your family and friends, and know that we're all in this together in these times of war and these political issues that when it comes to our changing world, and really go out there and truly spread the word. Thank you again, and see you in the next presentation, and God bless.